Okay, picture this. You're 6 years old, and you just got off a plane in a brand new country.
Whoa.
You don't speak the language.
Oh, wow.
Everything feels strange and different,
Yeah,
and you always kind of feel like people are underestimating you.
I can only imagine.
Well, that's exactly how Anu Upadhyaya's story begins. And that's whose journey we're diving into today.
Fascinating. From what I've read, his story takes us from a small village in India all the way to the forefront of AI and special ed.
It's definitely inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also about getting a real look at the challenges and triumphs of special ed.
Right.
And how people like Anu are using technology to change things up.
For sure.
So I'm curious, how did those early experiences, like feeling like an outsider, shape Anu's path?
Well, Anu often talks about connecting with those who, and I'm quoting here, have the deck stacked against them. That feeling of being marginalized, of having to prove himself, that really became a driving force for him.
I see that early spark.
Yeah.
But how did that actually translate into action?
Well, Anu, he wasn't just sitting back watching.
Right.
He took charge.
Uh-huh.
He was part of the very first graduating class for Longwood University's special education teaching program.
Wow, that must have been a big deal back then.
It was a huge accomplishment.
And not only that,
Yeah.
he also went and founded the Alpha Phi Alpha chapter there.
Wow. This guy doesn't shy away from leadership, does he?
Not at all. He clearly leads the charge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that drive, that passion, it really lays the groundwork for the impact he'd go on to have on special ed.
That's awesome.
An impact that went way beyond Longwood.
Yeah.
But even before taking on those leadership roles, Anu really sought out to understand the field deeply.
I see.
So I'm curious, have you had a chance to look into his classroom experience?
Yeah, he spent a whole decade in the classroom, right?
A whole decade.
And get this, he was even nominated for Teacher of the Year.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
10 years is a long time.
It is?
What kind of insights do you think he picked up from that experience?
It's like this. Learning about teaching from a textbook, that's one thing.
Right.
But being in the classroom day after day,
Yeah,
that's a whole other ball game.
for sure.
And that experience, it gave Anu a deep, deep understanding of what teachers and students go through, especially those in special ed.
Absolutely.
He saw it all firsthand. The systemic issues, the lack of resources, always having to fight for his students.
It sounds like a lot.
It was.
I can see how those challenges would make someone want to find better solutions, not just for their own classroom,
Right.
but on a much bigger scale.
Exactly.
So how did that decade of teaching actually shape his approach when he moved into those leadership roles?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Anu's time in the classroom really instilled in him a commitment to making decisions based on data.
Interesting.
He saw how just going with your gut feeling or subjective opinions,
Yeah.
that wasn't always enough.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to make decisions based on evidence, on what was actually working for the students.
I can see that.
And this approach, it became a real hallmark of his leadership style.
That makes sense.
So he wasn't just passionate, he was strategic too.
Yeah,
He used those experiences to make real change happen.
that's amazing.
It is.
Now, I'm curious about his academic side.
Oh, yeah.
He went on to get his master's, didn't he?
He did, in administration and supervision.
Oh, wow.
And get this,
What?
while he was in grad school,
Yeah.
he actually closed an Office of Civil Rights investigation.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is for those of us who aren't super familiar with the education system?
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
In special education,
Uh-huh.
these investigations happen when there are concerns that a school or district isn't following the law when it comes to giving the right services to students with disabilities.
I see.
It can get really complicated, involves tons of data, interviews.
Legal stuff. Wow, that sounds really intense.
It is.
So for Anu to close one while still in grad school,
It's pretty impressive, right?
it's super impressive.
It shows his ability to handle tough situations, analyze data, and really fight for students' rights.
Yeah.
And that experience, plus his 10 years of teaching, his master's degree,
Yeah.
it gave him such a unique and well-rounded view of special education.
It sounds like he was building a pretty amazing set of skills.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier that his impact would reach far beyond Longwood.
Right, right.
Is this where we start to see him making a difference on a larger scale?
You got it.
Okay.
All that experience led him to become a special education federal monitor and data analyst.
Whoa, that's a mouthful.
It is.
But what does that actually mean?
Basically, he was in charge of overseeing and supporting special ed programs across different states.
Wow, that's a huge responsibility.
That is.
What did that involve day to day?
Well, Anu was brought in to help school districts do a better job following federal rules
Hmm.
and, even more importantly,
Uh-huh.
to make sure they were providing high-quality services to their students with disabilities. He traveled all over the place,
Hmm.
working with schools in both cities and rural areas.
So he was able to use all that data-driven knowledge
Exactly.
and those insights from teaching in all sorts of different places.
It was fascinating to see how he adapted his approach.
That's really cool.
It was.
And it wasn't just about finding the problems, was it?
No, not at all.
He had to come up with solutions, too,
Right.
develop strategies, and
Yeah.
help schools actually implement those changes.
He was really driving change.
So we're starting to see how his personal experiences
Yeah.
and his dedication actually turn into real improvements for these special ed programs.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It really is.
But I'm curious, what kind of challenges do you think he faced in these different environments?
That's a good question, I wonder.
Well, one of the biggest ones was dealing with disciplinary actions within special ed programs.
Oh, I bet that's a tough one.
It is.
Yeah.
Students with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
they were being disciplined way more often than their peers. It was a big problem.
Wow. That's a complex issue.
Oh, it is.
Well, there are so many factors involved there.
Right.
So how did Anu even start to tackle something like that?
Well, he knew that just punishing students wasn't going to solve anything.
Right.
He understood that these challenging behaviors often came from unmet needs.
I see.
So he worked with schools to implement what's called positive behavior supports.
And what does that look like?
It focuses on understanding why those behaviors are happening in the first place,
Okay.
and then coming up with strategies to address those root causes proactively.
So instead of reacting to problems after they pop up,
Exactly.
he was trying to prevent them from happening at all.
That's the goal.
That's really smart.
It was a big shift in how people thought about discipline.
Yeah.
It took a lot of collaboration, training, data analysis to make it work.
So did Anu's efforts actually pay off?
They did. They really did.
What kind of results did he see?
Well, he played a key role in significantly reducing those disciplinary actions in special ed programs
Oh, wow.
across multiple districts.
That's impressive.
It was.
So that meant fewer suspensions,
Yeah.
fewer expulsions,
Exactly.
and more students actually staying in the classroom where they belong.
Where they can learn and grow.
That's fantastic.
It was a huge win for the students.
Yeah.
And for special ed as a whole.
It's amazing to see how Anu's journey took him from those early experiences of feeling underestimated
Right.
to becoming this powerful advocate for students with disabilities.
It was inspiring.
But there's one more piece of his story we haven't gone to yet,
Oh, you mean?
his work with Lyric-Care.
Yes. This is where things get really interesting.
I'm all ears.
Anu's always been passionate about using data to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
But with Lyric-Care,
Yeah.
he's taking that commitment to a whole new level.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He's actually leading the charge in developing AI tools
Wow.
that are designed to totally revolutionize the way we deliver special ed services.
You touched on this a bit earlier,
I-
but I have to admit, my knowledge of AI is still pretty basic.
That's okay.
Can you break down how these tools are actually being used in special ed?
Sure. Imagine this. You're a speech therapist.
Okay.
You have 30 students on your caseload,
That's a lot.
and you're spending hours and hours every week on paperwork,
Oh,
scheduling, all that administrative stuff.
yeah,
It takes so much time away from actually working with your students.
that makes sense.
Anu saw this problem,
Yeah.
and he realized that AI could be the solution.
So these AI tools are like super efficient assistants for therapists.
Exactly. They can handle all those time-consuming tasks.
So things like scheduling appointments,
Yep,
generating reports,
that's right.
even analyzing student data to track their progress.
All of that.
Wow.
This frees up the therapist to actually focus on what they're best at,
Yeah.
providing direct support and interventions to their students.
It sounds like a total game changer for therapists, especially since they're often so overwhelmed and juggling so many different responsibilities.
I know.
Are there other ways AI is being used in special ed?
There are. Remember that issue we talked about earlier?
Which one?
The shortage of qualified special ed staff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Lyric-Care is actually running a pilot program
Ah,
that uses AI to help schools solve that problem.
interesting. How does that work?
Think of it like a matchmaking service.
Okay.
But for special ed staff,
Mm-hmm.
the AI looks at what the school specifically needs.
So the types of disabilities they serve,
Yeah.
the number of students they have,
Mhm.
the services they need,
All of that.
and then what?
And then it matches those needs with therapists in their network.
Oh, wow.
based on their qualifications and availability.
So instead of schools having to scramble to fill these positions,
Yeah.
maybe even make compromises,
Exactly.
this AI system helps them find the best possible fit for their students.
That's the idea,
So everyone benefits.
right? It ensures students get the right support
Yeah,
while also making staffing more efficient for the schools.
it's a win-win.
It really is.
So we're seeing Anu not just mastering the traditional parts of special ed,
Right.
but really pushing the boundaries,
Yes.
embracing technology to create these innovative solutions.
It's amazing to watch.
And it's like he's always looking for ways to improve, to do things better.
You're getting it.
That's a powerful drive.
It is, and his dedication goes even further.
Oh, how so?
Even while he's leading these technological advancements, he's also working towards becoming a board-certified behavior analyst,
Wow.
focusing specifically on helping students with autism.
This is where his personal story comes full circle, right?
It does.
He's using his platform, his knowledge,
Yeah.
to advocate for those who might feel underestimated or overlooked.
Just like he did.
It's really inspiring.
It is a beautiful example of taking your own experiences and using them to make the world a better place.
It makes you think, what other challenges could we be solving?
Right.
What other possibilities could we unlock if we all brought that same level of passion and innovation to our work?
It's exciting to think about.
Yeah, it's incredible to see how far he's come, you know?
It really is.
From those early days when you felt like an outsider
Yeah.
to now making such a huge impact on the world of special ed.
It's a powerful story.
His journey really shows the power of resilience, huh?
It does.
And how important it is to never stop learning.
Right.
And of course, the potential of technology to make a real difference.
Oh, for sure.
You know what really strikes me about Anu's story?
What's that?
It's not just about his own accomplishments. It's
Yeah.
about how his work is changing the lives of so many students.
And educators.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Think about all those therapists
Right.
who now have more time to spend with their students thanks to the AI tools Anu helped create.
It's making a real difference.
And the schools that can now find the best staff to support their students.
Yeah, through that AI matchmaking system.
It's credible.
It's those real tangible impacts
Right.
that are changing classrooms every day.
And those impacts, I mean,
Yeah.
they're only going to keep growing
Oh, absolutely.
as Anu continues to push the limits of what's possible in special ed.
He's been called a rising star,
Oh, yeah, I read that too.
and that really resonates with me.
Yeah,
It feels like his journey is just getting started.
I like that.
Like his biggest contributions are still to come.
That's an exciting thought.
Yes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Anu's story,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I hope they feel inspired,
Yeah,
not just by Anu's story, but by their own potential to make a difference.
I agree.
Anu's journey reminds us that we all have something special to offer.
That's true.
Unique experiences, skills, passions.
Yeah.
We can use those to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. Maybe it's volunteering at a local school.
Right.
Or mentoring someone.
Or just speaking up for those who need it.
Or even, like Anu,
Yeah.
finding ways to use technology to make a positive impact.
Absolutely. The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
So, to our listener, I ask you,
Mm-hmm.
what's your rising star story?
What impact do you want to leave on the world?
It's a question we're thinking about.
Because as Anu's journey shows us,
Yeah,
even the smallest actions can create a ripple effect.
that's true.
So find what you're passionate about.
Right.
Embrace your potential.
Don't be afraid to shine.
And never underestimate the difference you can make.
That's a great way to put it.